Okay, now up to the next section, which is 12 Advanced Path Generation Part 2. So let's open that up. We will start by 12A point follow project. So if we bring that up here, there's nothing for now, that's normal. So we'll just bring in the curved plate holes here. Yeah, this one here, sorry. Oops, the loading is already finished. So the part is here. So this is here a simple little, okay, so yeah, the other project, perfect. So this is a simple plate. I took that example from one project that we're doing with one of our customer. So they have to drill a rivet hole in sections of plane fuselage, so the outer skin of the plane, so they need to drill a hole all around it to be able to actually draw the points. So I'm just gonna start Fusion while I'm talking here. I'm gonna show you like two things at once. So if you want to do such a project, you have the option to go utilities and point follow project. So a point follow project is a bit different from a curve follow project, but not much. The only real difference is that instead of selecting a curve, you're actually selecting a bunch of points, obviously. So if I go utilities and then point, whoops, Fusion just started here. So if you go utilities and then point follow project, you will have access to this window here. So again, almost exactly the same as the one we had for the curve follow project. The only difference here, so you have here the operation speed, which is the same. The only difference in here is that instead of having joined curve tolerance, we have point approach in millimeters. So we'll see what that does in a few seconds. So for now, if you want to go ahead and do a product like that, you need to select the point. So there's many ways of selecting the point. You can extract them from a plugin. You can bring them in from a CAD plugin. You can extract them from a curve. You can import them with a CSV file, the same way we did for the curve. So all of those options are available. By the way, if you want to import a CSV file in RoboDK and you want RoboDK to detect it as points and not as a curve, you just go to Tools or Utilities, in fact, and instead of drag and dropping the CSV, you go Utilities, Import Points, and you select your CSV file, and it will create a CSV file with all the points. It will import, in fact, the CSV file as points and not as a curve. But before going there, let's go to select point. If you have point extracted, I'm going to show you that in a few minutes. You could just select them, but now as we have nothing, you can see here you have the same kind of options you would find in the create curve panel. So now you have snap on arc center. So if I move closely here, that's something I'm going to ask to be changed, like reducing the size of that bubble. But you will see here, if you bring your mouse near one of the arc here, it will create a bubble, and if you select it, it will create a point directly in the middle and normal to that surface. So it will take the arc center and make sure that it's like really the axis of that arc here. So I can go ahead and select that section here. Click done. And as you will see, automatically it will create one approach and retract motion for each of those points. So if I go ahead and simply update, I'm going to first make sure that the position of that tool makes sense. I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees, update here, and then simulate. So it will go ahead and go ahead and kind of drill all those holes. As you can see for now, if I was to make that smaller, we're not doing much because we are just kind of barely touching the part here. So what we could do, we could cheat a bit, double click the tool, and then bring the TCP a bit lower, so somewhere like here. Update and simulate. Now if I press escape to stop that, move that here. Now I'm actually drilling like through like that, so that's cool. But the problem I created here is that now it's impossible to kind of cross without literally cutting here between the holes. So we want to create holes, not a slot. So to avoid creating slots, in fact just cutting the part here all along, we need to modify the point approach here. So point approach will be how much distance you have here between the point and the actual top of that, let's say, junction. So we could go, I don't know, for 50 mils. Oops. 50 mils here. Update. And then like that. And then go through. So that's something we can do fairly easily, just like that. So we can go ahead and continue with the rest of the holes. I could do that again, but I prefer in this case here just showing you, first of all, if you want two things. If it's not the case here, but let's say that you want to go the other way around, you want to go from below and go up, you can always just right click. In fact, when you're selecting it, so in the point follow project, if you go select point, you can stop here the auto extract. You go select point, remove the auto extract. You can right click and you can select reverse direction. So now the arrow is pointing in the other direction. So if I was to do that, let's say for those two, click done, that would do something very strange, but still you're able to select in which direction you are going. So I'm kind of curious on what that would look like. Something that I would not recommend for sure. So that's something you can do. You can also delete the point, right click delete points if you want, so delete all the points. So we'll just do that here. For the next example, we'll continue with this example here for the next little examples. I'm going to bring back the robot to its home position. In the same folder, we have here point curve plate hole. So if I was to bring that here to part, this is just a part with all the holes already extracted. So if I go ahead and select point, select this first one here, I can go ahead and right click and select next. In this case it didn't work well. I'm gonna go ahead and reset selection, select those two, right click, select next. Why doesn't it want to work properly? So it was working just fine when I used it, when I was creating the example. That's always like that. It's really random. Too bad. So anyway, it's not a big deal. We can just go ahead and select the points one by one. It's still less painful if you have them extracted. It's still less painful than actually selecting them one by one. I'm gonna ask my dev to do something about the select next. I was kind of under the impression that it was working fine. Like I said, I just tried those when I was working on that example. This is a brand new example that I built this week. Anyway, so you have it now, so you can go show, and in this case here, potentially just go for something where like that, update, simulate, and then that makes sense. We'll see what will go on here. So RoboDK here will use its optimization parameters to make sure that we don't hit any joint limit. So in this case here, you can see that joint 5 is kind of, let's say, on the verge of being overwhelmed, or let's say reaching its limit, but here it will rotate around Z to avoid that. So we're kind of fighting against joint 5 being out of reach or reaching its limits at all time. And here we are kind of repositioning ourselves and moving upward like that. So that's great. That's another way of creating the point, just bringing them as an object. If you extracted them elsewhere, you can save them as an object and yeah, bring them back. If I delete that here, I can also do the same with the plugins, so SolidWorks, Inventor, Fusion, and others. So why don't you want to open? Thanks. I'm gonna go for this one here. Close that here. So you can see we have all of our points here that I created. So I created really in the CAD software, one point in the middle of each hole. So I do that in SolidWorks in like 2 minutes, and for this program it took me a bit more time. I don't know exactly, I'm pretty sure I just don't have the right method. But anyway, so if you go to Tool, you can go load points this time instead of loading, so Tool, load point instead of loading curve. Select the point, so I'm just gonna go ahead and add a selection filter. I don't want to select faces, I don't want to select vertical, I just want to select points, sketch points. So this way I'll be able to just select them one by one like that. I'm selecting them one by one and not as by just selecting everything, because by doing so they will be kept in the right order. And the selection tool here works well. Just gonna make sure here that I didn't selected stupid stuff like this. Okay, perfect. Now I can select one face, click, select. Oops, I need to go ahead and reset all my, okay, and we're gonna go point, and it will be reference frame part, and that's it. I'm gonna click OK, go to RoboDK, and the path was imported. It created another point follow project, so I can just delete 5 here, 50 here, and have that path created like pretty quickly. So that's the first thing. Another thing that's a bit, I wouldn't say different, but that you can use another way is here. If you go program event, you now have something to go on point. So I could go ahead and potentially just add no, like, let's say I have like here, I don't know, like, because it doesn't make sense in this case here, like just here and here for the path approach and path retract, we'll go for let's say drill on, and then here drill off. Click OK, update, right click, show instruction, and you will have like drill on So if I go ahead and run the program step by step, you will have drill on activated here, move down, there's a am here. So if you had to do something at the point, you could go there. So one example I have with one of our customers, we're doing point follow project, but for inspections. I'm going to show you why and how that works in a few minutes. But yeah, we're using that to do some inspection application, and we're taking pictures at every step along the way. Then we have I'm here, moving up, drill off, moving to the next point. I selected the first point twice. I don't know why. Potentially I have it selected twice within, surely not potentially. Surely I have it selected 3 times. In fact, that's not impossible because I had 3 sketch. So this is just something you need to make sure. Do I have it selected 3 times? I had it selected 3 times. So that's not impossible here because there's a few points one on top of the other. So I would need to make sure, yeah, when I kind of dragged and selected it, I selected all the point. I should have just used my mouse and selected it once. So this way I would have just had one section here. That's not a big deal. We could easily deal with that even here automatically. So I'm just gonna go and delete that. Go to select point. Here you can see that we have like many points one on top of the other. So I'm gonna deselect one and then oops. Okay, done. Can I go select point, deselect, gonna delete one point. Oh, that's sad. So now I have just 1 point, but I need to select it all once again, which is kind of a bit annoying. So I'm gonna give it a go again, select next, and now it worked. So I don't know why it wasn't working the other time. So it works very well if you have them extracted like that. So it go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I wasn't crazy when I was thinking it was indeed working just fine when you had them like that. I don't know why it wasn't working when I showed you that the first time, so I'll have to investigate why. So now if I go update and then right click, show instruction, first motion, move down, drill on, move down, am here, move up, drill up, change speed to fast speed. So this is in the program event fast speed. You need to change that, move there, move down, and so on. So that's the first thing. I'm gonna cover another thing later, another situation, but you can also, I'm gonna show you a little something real quick. So if you go to tools and then create curve, let's say we auto extract this curve here like that, click done. You can always right click on a curve and select extract curve points, and it will create 1 point at every, let's say, normal you have. So that's something you can use with the point follow project. I'm going to show you why it can be interesting and what it can be important in a future video. I still had one example. Oops, yeah, here, point follow project, spot welding. So let's say that we're doing some spot welding with a robot. So what you can do if you have points like that is to create a welding program. So I'm gonna go get ahead and start the main program. So it will go inside. Do the welding. So there's a collision here. This, I'm not the one who did this example. We're gonna redo it together, and we're gonna make sure that this doesn't happen. I would simply like rotate the gripper or the welding gun here, and it should work without any collisions. Cool. And we have the third weld pair available. Here. So let's do that together again. So I'm gonna just keep the do weld program here. So do weld program is simply to open and close the gripper, wait for 4 seconds for the weld to be done. That's kind of long, I believe, but still. Ooh, what I did, I don't know what I did. That happens. So we'll just delete all of that. Delete all of that. So I don't know why I kind of hit my Windows button. Don't know what combinations of stuff I touched. So starting from here, let's do that again. So if I go ahead and select utilities, point follow project, I can't do those in one shot because I need to kind of rotate around, and I need to have an approach and retract motion to be able to get in, do that weld, get out, do that weld, get out, do that weld here. So I can't just select them in one blow. If I was to select them in one blow, I'm going to show you what it will look like. I don't need to extract anything. I already have my points extracted. If I was to do that, here you can see that I wouldn't be able to actually kind of do anything meaningful between the pairs because I would kind of be stuck in the jig. And even if I was to add, let's say, retract motion, and in here, if I do that, and then because it's a point follow project, it will only add an approach and retract to the first and the last point, so it wouldn't kind of help me in any meaningful way. Like I would avoid collision for the first point, avoid collision for the last point, but I would kind of wreck everything in between. So that doesn't make sense for now. So this is why we will just go pair by pair. Gonna click done. Then let's say that we're just gonna update and simulate. So here we need something that's a small thing that I can just talk about for a moment. If you have, in this case, we have a mechanism instead of having the weld gun, so we can't really see what it looks like when we click show preferred toolpath, because it will only try to do it with the active gun. So that can be a bit problematic. So what I do when that happens, I'm going to create a new reference frame, Control C and then Control V, that mechanism here. The mechanism is here. I'm going to right click on it, and then oops, I can't modify this one. So I'm going to go ahead and Control Alt Shift J, Control Alt Shift J. G, sorry, will bring you to the debugger mode, developer mode. So if you click yes here, now you have access to modifying robots. The goal here is not to modify that robot. So this is the same exact place where you're going to create mechanism. So this is in the create basic mechanism section of the program. So you can just merge that together, right click, convert object, and then I'm gonna bring that to the robot directly here. I'm gonna delete all of that here. So now I have a copy of the mechanism, so I can hide the mechanism here and just have that like that. So now if I go ahead and click show preferred toolpath, I now have the tool yeah, and I'll have the tool so that I can kind of do the rotation properly. So that was a bit wonky as an explanation. I'm gonna make sure that you have that in the station I'm gonna provide you, so that you don't have to kind of look for it. So the weld gun will be the one TCP we're using. So I'm gonna go copy and then paste. I'm gonna make sure that this is kind of fixed in your station. So this will be here, weld gun. Okay, update, and then simulate, and then weld gun will be invisible. Yeah, I don't want to make it. It will make it visible, but I do not want. That's boring. Okay, so I can't really do that. I'll have to have it as a TCP, and then just select this one and just have this one as a reference. Otherwise, it will appear at all times. I'm gonna go add TCP. Sorry for that. This one will be called weld gun, and this one will be just weld gun 3D ref. So I'm gonna select weld gun update, because every time if you select a, so the reason why it's because if you select a tool here, there will be a show tool automatically created in the point follower project, so therefore you're kind of stuck with it. So now I'm just using an invisible tool and the actual mechanism. So as you can see in this case here, we have by default the arrows pointing inward. Before, the arrows were pointing outward. That's kind of a problem, if I can say. So I'm gonna delete that real quick. I'm gonna just save the station as is, like that. I'm gonna bring the robot back to its home position so that you have all of that properly set for your project. So you just won't have the 3 program already created, but at least you will have the station properly created. So we go utilities, point follower project. Let's do what we were supposed to do like 5 minutes ago. Select point, select this one, select that one here, click done, show preferred toolpath. We're gonna go ahead and move that up like that, update, simulate, didn't select the right gun here, update, simulate, hide that one here, gonna just move that one up here. Perfect. So now what we can do is, first we need to take care of 2 things. First one being not having a retract that is so big so that we're colliding here. So I'm gonna go ahead and change the approach and retract movement for just a 10 millimeters normal to the path. So if we update that and simulate, that's already better. Now we need to have something moving upward. So what I would do is just add here and select potentially just Z plus for 100 millimeter. Copy that, paste that, update, simulate. Oh, here it feels like the Z is pointing in the opposite direction. Yeah, it's Z. Why is it minus Z? I'm not so sure. But let's enter minus Z here. The only thing that really matters is that you see the lines here moving upward. So I'll even potentially go for minus 200, update, simulate, and now we're at a spot which is kind of clean. I can call this one weld 1, right click, update program, and then let's do the same for the other 2. So what I'm gonna do is utilities, point follower project. I'm gonna go ahead and select point 1, select point 2, click done. Gonna rename it weld 2. Whoops. Weld 2. I'm gonna close that for now. I'm gonna go to utilities, point follow project, select point 1, point 2, click done, close that down, doesn't matter. Then I'm gonna call this one weld 3. Gonna go back to the first one, and I need to change here in param events. First of all, my fast simulation speed is a bit fast, so let's go for 2. And then I need to add on action, and on action I will have my subprogram do weld. Click OK, click OK, click update. And then I'm gonna right click here, more option, copy all settings, select the 2 other, right click, more option, paste settings. And then you can see that the approach and retract were added properly. Right click, update program, select the first one, second one, third one, right click, make main program. And then I might just need to change the configuration here. So if I go ahead and run weld 1, that makes sense. That's a bit long for a pause, but still. And now we have, if I was to go ahead and do the second one, it would be way too big of a joint rotation. So I'm just gonna do as I showed you before, bring it here, just click set current, update. And then I'm gonna move to the second one here to make sure, double click, set current, update, so that I can set the current joint motion, joint position. Here, why do I still have that big rotation? We'll see. Oh, here, I'll calm down. Do I have to do that, or can I avoid? Okay, here it's because of the orientation I have, so I'll have to go ahead and click show preferred toolpath. So this one here doesn't make sense. We'll go for -90, update. That would make more sense for sure. Show preferred toolpath. -90 will make more sense. Update. Okay, that's great. That's great. So that's what we were looking for here, and yeah, excellent. So that's it for the point follow project. I like this feature. Sorry for that longer video. I had some small issues. It was the first time I was showcasing those examples, so it wasn't as smooth as one. It's like the 5th or 6th time I'm showing the same example. Sorry for that, but yeah, here's still the information you needed.